I'm Goma Mavika from Congo Brazzaville in Central Africa. I agree with the UNICEF policy of fighting for the participation of youth in development. But as far as my experience is concerned, we can also see the same young adolescent, instead of participating in development programs, they also unwillingly being forced to participate, for example, in conflict, even though from the UNICEF chart it said that engaging children or engaging adolescents in civil war is a crime. But still, till today, in many of sub-African countries, children are still being involved in civil war. So my question is the following. Is there something UNICEF is failing to do in favor of the above situation I've said? And if yes, I would like to know why, and what is the B plan for UNICEF to fulfill his commitment in front of those young people being engaged? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Second question from Lehigh.
Thank you. So earlier you said that the perception of children as ineffective or the perception of children as unproductive needs to be changed, and UNICEF's working towards that end. But to make that happen, you need national government buy-in, you need civil society buy-in. So how is UNICEF engaging governments, engaging civil society, and what's been the response to that engagement?
Just to go back to that first question from Lehigh University, very important to focus on what's happening with youth in conflict situations. This is a major program for UNICEF in countries. More than half of the countries that we're working with in Africa are in some stage of a conflict or other. They're either in a current conflict or in a post-conflict type of situation. And in nearly all those countries, the majority of the population is below the 20-25 age group. So you have a burgeoning youth population in those countries amidst a civil war and lack of employment opportunities and an educational system that is not leading them anywhere in terms of future life security and for employment. In that situation breeds young people to become soldiers and to join the either the governmental militia or the rebel militia, in order, but that's the only option they have. That's the only opportunity that they have to be able to earn some money, to have some type of a future in those particular environment. And that's, I think, what we need to address. What we need to do 2 or 3 things. First, we have to make sure that these young people are reached by our programs. In many cases, our programs do not reach the most vulnerable young people in those situations of conflict. Second, we have to be able, as the UN, to take risks and to stick our neck out in terms of acting as mediators with the government agents as well as with the rebel militia to address the problem of children and adolescents in situations of conflict. Third, we should be in a position to offer viable alternatives, both educational opportunities as well as career opportunities in those situations. Now, this is something that UNICEF cannot do alone. We need the UN system behind us. We need donors behind us. We need other international agencies behind us. So this is a partnership that needs to develop on a common program that is focused on adolescents and young people in conflict situations. So that is Plan B. Plan B is we need to bring together all key players to address and to reach the young people. Plan B is to develop viable alternatives for these young people. Instead of joining the war and rebel groups, to be able to go to school, to develop their educational abilities and to be productively employed and to look for livelihoods. Plan B is for us to invest money, resources and human resources into those type of programs and specifically target those countries that are most vulnerable in situations of conflict, as you know, in many parts of Africa and Asia and so on. So that is, for me, what is Plan B in terms of addressing the needs of adolescents and youth in conflict situations.
We move to Lockhaven for two questions from Lockhaven.
Much.
Good morning, Ambassador. My name's Caleb Park, and my question is it possible that the problem of youth unemployment lies with an older population trying to fit youth into positions where change is limited?
Second question.
Yes, good morning. My name is Brent Barge. I've heard conflicting viewpoints regarding education work. On one hand, I've heard that young people need to get more involved in the economy, in the workforce, but on the other hand, you're saying that governments need to take a stronger role in education and developing young people for the modern society. But when young people get too involved in work, especially studies show that they work more than 20 hours per week, they show a drop-off in their education. So how can education and work coexist so that we're training young people for the future, but also getting them involved now, as I've heard you also say? Thank you.
Very good questions. On the first, which is that the older people are preventing the younger people from coming forward. Now, I would have thought that we would like to bring down the age of retirement so that more young people can come in. But a number of countries, France for example, is increasing the age of retirement from 60 to 62. The higher the retirement age, the fewer young people will come in.
That's right.
And so there seems to be a vested interest in the part of old fogies like you and me to prevent young people. And so we are the ones at fault. And the second question stands on its own merit. Back to you, sir.
Yeah. Yes, I think a big resistance is coming from the older population in terms of gaining access and entry for young people in productive employment and in the current job market. And that's the reason why I said earlier that therefore young people have no alternative but to look at the informal sector or go outside the formal economy and the labor market and so on. But that's not the only problem. The problem is, as I said before, our educational system itself is not keeping pace with our economic development. Our education system itself is not keeping pace with the demographic transition that is taking place in the countries and in societies. Our education system is not combining learning and work in a productive way and in a constructive way. By giving opportunities to young people to have internships in areas where they can develop the appropriate skills and capacities that are not only of interest to them, but can also contribute to overall social development and economic development in their societies. So we have, for example, done a study recently trying to map out what is called the social entrepreneurship among young people in different parts of the world, and particularly in the programs that UNICEF has supported. And we were amazed to find the type of innovation that young people have started developing through their own interests outside the educational system and outside the formal labor market, by which young people are, for example, coming together to be able to create information and communication to other young people using the internet and modern technologies, using the mobile phones, SMS texting, for example. These are fantastic experiences and expertise that can be tapped by the official governments and in the labor market, but it's not being adequately addressed. And education system itself is not keeping pace with that innovation and entrepreneurship that young people are showing outside the school system. And I think that's where the problem needs to be addressed.
I'd like to take that second question myself, because it's a very important question. There is I, like Mr. Karunan, I also am a professor at several universities in the United States. And I found that there really is no such thing as a student in the United States. All students are really part-time students in the United States. They're all working in order to earn, in order to pay their fees. Now,